happy video day, guys. So for today's video, what we're going to be talking about is a brand new foundation that literally hasn't released yet, but Sephora was giving out free samples of it before it releases, so I was able to snag one so that I guys can give you guys kind of a review of how it works. This is not my first impression. I did wear this foundation yesterday. This is the second time I've worn it. This little sample right here, and this is called the Tarte Foundcealer. This right here is the small sample that I did get from Sephora. Like I said, if you guys make purchases at Sephora, I think it probably is still available. I don't know if it is or not. You are able to get a free deluxe size little sample, and it has enough foundation in it for at least 2 or 3 times, which is great. And you guys can test out this foundation actually before it even launches. I believe that this foundation is set to launch around March 21st. So this foundation does have some cool elements to it. It's not just another standard release from Tarte. So I don't actually have the actual bottle, like the actual one that you would buy in store, but the bottle looks like this. And honestly, guys, the bottle is really pretty. It kind of reminds me of the last Tarte release that just came out, the Tarte Face Tape, which is a product that I skipped out on. I wasn't really needing that type of foundation, but I did want to try this one because this one did have a radiant to natural kind of look. Those are the kind of foundations I usually tend to go for. Not a huge matte fan. So I want to point out a few things to you guys from the actual website that Tarte actually says before we go ahead and get into like the application, me showing you guys, me putting it on my face, and then me telling you kind of like where I stand with this foundation. So the full name is not just the Foundcealer, it's actually the Babassu Foundcealer Skincare Foundation Broad Spectrum SPF 20. The interesting thing about this foundation, it does have skincare elements actually built into the foundation, which is actually pretty cool, different from some of the other Tarte foundations. So what Tarte describes it on the website is Babassu Foundcealer, a vegan skincare foundation, aka your total complexion solution. This vegan makeup and skincare hybrid delivers an ultra comfortable, natural radiant finish and medium customizable coverage so that you can live your day your way. So it does claim that it hydrates and gives the appearance of plumper skin. It does protect with SPF of 20. It's formulated with nourishing Super Balm Babassu, essential fatty acids, and antioxidants. So it is formulated without any of these ingredients, which is always a good thing to see. So it's coming also in 30 different shades, and it has a bunch of different undertones. So it is $39 US, but you are also getting some skincare elements into this foundation. And I'm assuming that they were trying to make this foundation a little bit more for maybe sensitive skin, or maybe people who have issues with their skin and they want to have some skincare inside of there. They want to have the SPF, but they also want vegan products. So I think that that is pretty interesting. I was very interested in it when I kind of read more about it. Even if you look on allure.com, they were talking about how this is a kind of like a big deal for Tarte to release something that has so much skincare in it. And yeah, so it kind of got me a little bit more interested in the product. So when I did receive it as the free sample, I did throw it on yesterday because I really wanted to test it out like right away. I just wanted to see how it felt. And there is some cool stuff about it. And then there's some stuff that I'm not sure if everybody's going to love. So just so you guys know my skin type, I have basically normal skin. So I do get dry right here on the inner sides of my nose, but my T-zone gets pretty oily throughout the day. And depending on whether I have eczema or not, because I do get eczema every once in a while, I could have dry patches every once in a while show up or not. Right now my skin's pretty good. I do have a little bit of eczema right here. I don't know where that came from, but it came out just recently. So anytime I have like those type of issues, and foundations can kind of sit a little bit funkier on my skin and I have to work a little harder to kind of make it go away. I am in my 30s, so I don't have perfect skin. I have some fine lines that I need to play around with and kind of get disappeared. I usually kind of grab more warm golden colors for my foundation. This one was a little bit on the lighter side for me. The only one that they had available that was closest to me was light beige 22B, and that is the sample size that I was able to pick up. So if you guys can see me applying it today, when I first applied it on my face, I wanted to try both different methods. Tarte does say if you use your fingers, you're going to get more of a sheer coverage. If you use a sponge, you'll get light coverage, and if you use a brush, you'll get medium coverage. I like medium coverage, and I was gonna do a fun look today, so I was like, you know what, let's do medium coverage today. So what I did was on one side I wanted to show you guys light, and on one side I wanted to show you guys medium. So for the medium side, which is the side I knew I was gonna go with at the end, I went ahead and used the brush. I feel like the brush applied it pretty decent. I do feel like it gave me pretty decent coverage. It is more light medium. I don't feel like it's like strong medium. It's like light medium, but you can kind of build it up little by little to kind of get it a little bit stronger of a medium. Like, it's not even close to getting to full coverage. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's more like a medium for sure coverage if you use a brush. Now, when you use a sponge, I still felt like the coverage was pretty decent. It was more light, but it did kind of cover all my imperfections, and I like the blend of the sponge a little bit more than I liked the blend of the brush, but I like the coverage of the brush more than I like the coverage of the sponge. But what I ended up just doing was covering this side a little bit more with my brush to kind of get up that color, to kind of get things a little even, and then I went over it with a sponge. How I think that this would apply best for me after using it 2 times in a row and kind of playing with it, I think I personally would like to apply this with a brush and then at the end pat over it with a sponge to kind of even everything out. I didn't have like too much streakiness, but I can just tell some foundations like with a brush it's just like beautiful coverage, and then some foundations with a sponge it's beautiful coverage. This one worked good with both, but I just feel like at the end, if I would have used the sponge to kind of smooth things over, I feel like it even looks better. I don't know if it's just because it has more of a silky consistency to it. Maybe it's all that skincare in it, but it is a little bit more movable on the face. But that's why sometimes I feel like with the brush, it just doesn't, it just needs that extra smoothing over with the sponge. And I love the way it looked after. So then after everything was applied, I do think it looked really nice. I think it covered pretty decent. It's not full coverage, which is totally fine with me. One thing that I do like is it doesn't feel like you have anything on your face. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels really nice on the skin. So I'm really happy about that, because sometimes for every day, you don't want a really heavy feeling foundation. I have a few foundations that look impeccable, but they feel heavy, you know, and they're more like for nighttime, more of an everyday kind of feeling foundation to me. I do like the way it looked at the end. Obviously, I wanted to do a little bit more glam today because I am playing with the Anastasia Riviera palette, which I have sitting right here. So if you guys like my eye look, that is what I'm wearing on my eyes. Playing around with that, of course, on Instagram, I always put up my eye tutorials. So if you guys ever want to see how I came up with eye looks, follow me on Instagram at the GLAMRANCH. So obviously, I had to bronze up the face a little bit to kind of get myself more into the color tone that I usually like to be. And I feel like it handled everything pretty well. I did have to touch up a little bit around my nose because I did feel like it kind of moved the product just a tad bit. Now that I feel is because it has more of like a silky feel to it when you're putting it on. You know what it kind of reminds me of? You know, like the IT Cosmetics like CC cream kind of feel when you're putting them on, that they kind of like glide on the skin a little bit. That's kind of what it reminds me of. It doesn't remind me of a foundation that feels more thick when you're applying it. It feels more silky. So because of that, it kind of reminds me of like that IT Cosmetics feel. And I don't mind it. I used to use my IT Cosmetics every single day for foundation because it was a very lightweight, nice foundation to wear on the daily. And I feel like this is kind of similar to that. So I do like the way it looks. I like the way everything sat on the face after. I don't think it looked cakey. I feel like everything kind of blended pretty nicely into the skin. On my skin, it looked fine. Now, here's the only thing I would tell you guys is if you have oily skin, I think that this is going to look too oily on you at the end of the day because it does get a little bit more dewy than it even looks now. And right now, you know, I can see a little bit of oils coming through on my forehead. I've had this on probably for 4 or 5 hours already because I did a tutorial, I did a filming, I did some other stuff. I came back and I'm filming this now for you guys. And I did see a little bit oiliness kind of coming up on the skin, on the forehead. It's going to be almost 5:30 right now where I am. So I feel like if you have oily skin, this might get a little oily on you, and maybe you would want to pick up a sample of it before you invest in the full thing. Now, if you guys have dry skin or normal combo skin, I would tell you that you might actually like this. Now, I think that this actually might be a pretty nice daily foundation. And when I wore it yesterday, I feel like it kind of wore pretty nice throughout the day. It wasn't my best wearing foundation, but it wasn't like one of those long wear thick kind of foundations. It was one that kind of like faded out evenly and left me a little dewy by the end of the day. And maybe it moved around just a tad bit, but it wasn't anything out of this world like bad. Like it wasn't bad. This is how I feel about this product. I feel like this product right here is an everyday kind of foundation for people who don't want really heavy foundations. Maybe they want something a little lighter on the skin and has some good ingredients in it that helps nourish the skin, also helps protect from the UV rays, and it has like vegan properties in it. So if you're like that type of person, I really feel like you might actually really like this foundation. Now, for me personally, I do like this for everyday kind of wear, but like for going out or for going to somewhere that I want my makeup to last really long, am I gonna probably jump to this one? Probably not. That I would probably jump to a Laura Mercier or something like that, because I feel like those foundations have better long wear time and they look a little bit better at the end of the night. It would just be one of those things that I would tell you guys, if you guys are looking at this product, it's a nice foundation, it looks good, it does have some interesting elements to it that I think are beneficial. I think that this is a nice foundation. I think it did its job. I think it was good. I think that if you like the properties inside of it and this is the type of formula that you've been looking for, you may really like this. For me personally, I thought it looked really nice. If I were to have to refill my IT Cosmetics, maybe this would be a good replacement for me for my IT Cosmetics. So I like it. I think it's good. It did its job and it was fine. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me those thumbs up, leave me your comments below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.